Vint, Roger Ellis, information technologist. I last met with you, as you recall, 2-3 years ago, and I asked you what you were working on. And as I recall, two of the things you were working on was the Internet of Planets.
Yes.
And the other one was you were saying you'd like to send a spaceship to the nearest star, but it would take about 10,000 years at the moment. So you were working on brainstorming, blue sky thinking about a different form of propulsion. Has any progress been made on either of those?
Well, let's see. Let me try to break this into several pieces. The first part is that the interplanetary network is in operation now. It has been running more or less since 2004 between Earth and Mars, the International Space Station, with multiple orbiters and rovers on Mars. And as the new missions launch in the 2020 period, they will also have the similar capability available to them. Almost all the information that we've been collecting from Mars has come through the Store and Forward interplanetary network. There's work going on here in the UK at an organization called Icarus Interstellar, looking at the design of a spacecraft to get to Alpha Centauri in 100 years elapsed time. This is even more exciting now that many of you know that there is a planet which has been discovered around Alpha Centauri b, which is rather close to the sun, but it's a dwarf sun. It has an 11-day orbit, which is pretty damn fast around this star. But it's in what might be the temperate zone, so that it lends even more excitement to the possibility of actually going there and seeing what's going on. So we've been working on some of the problems. One of them is propulsion, because at the moment it would take 75,000 years to get from here to Alpha Centauri with currently known propulsion systems. What we need is something that will get us up to 20% the speed of light. And so that's probably going to be an ion engine of some kind with significant high Q thrust. Then there's this problem of communication. Imagine that you have a spacecraft which is a light year away on its way to Alpha Centauri. What this means is a radio signal or an optical signal will take a year to get to the spacecraft. So if you're trying to control it, like we do for interplanetary missions where we do these mid-course corrections, it would take a year for the signal to get there and another year to find out what happened. This is not exactly the most interactive thing, so we need a lot of autonomy in order to make that work. We still want the signals to propagate because we want the data to come back. And so my job in this area has been to look for optical communication that would actually propagate 4 light years away and still be detectable. It's a big problem because even a collimated laser spreads substantially over 4 light years, so you end up with a very thin signal. You have to actually build an interplanetary backbone with synthetic aperture receivers in order to reconstruct the signal coming from Alpha Centauri, because you get little bits of very, very low fidelity information spread out across the solar system. You have to integrate it all back together again. So that's not a crazy mission, though. This is something that is seriously feasible to consider. And so, although I wouldn't be around for 100 years from now, I'm very excited about working on stuff like this because it's sort of like living in a science fiction story. You don't quite know what's going to happen at the end, but you get to be around at the beginning. That's a lot of fun. It would be like Gutenberg inventing the press and wondering what was going to happen 200 or 300 or 400 years later. He didn't get to see that, but we know because we saw it happen.